A few weeks ago in the message, I mentioned the idea of journaling about gratitude and things we're thankful for, and that being helpful with anxiety and things. And after the message, Rebecca Jaworski came up and said, "Hey, I could teach on that a little bit." And I said, "I love that. That's a great idea." So go ahead and come up with you, Rebecca. Larry and Rebecca, former missionaries to Croatia. These guys are awesome. I keep saying this about everybody I have up here, but if you don't know Larry and Rebecca, get to know Larry and Rebecca because they really are awesome. And so she's going to have a little bit of time to share here. This is the beginning of the message today.
Beginning of the message. We all know that it takes about 20 minutes for our brain to tell us that we're full, right? Our brain to recognize that our stomach's full. And question that I've been contemplating is, how long does it take my soul to tell me that my life is full? And actually, my life feels way, way too full. Jack Johnson's song, Not Enough Time, constantly goes through my head. And I don't like that feeling of just feeling like there's not enough time, there's not enough time. And I feel jealous, actually, of people that I perceive have more time than I do. And so I've been thinking about and reading a little book, but maybe it's not that I lack time, but I lack thanksgiving. And maybe that difference is going to make all the difference. Because I notice even when I do have some time, often I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy with the time that I have. If I have a 30-minute walk out in the sun on campus where I work, I want more. It's like, why aren't I just grateful for what I had? I always want more. Last week, we heard from Jeff and from Hosea about sowing seeds of righteousness. And it got me started thinking about, and it said, when we sow seeds of righteousness, eventually we reap the Hesed love, the faithful love of God. And I wondered, what if one way to sow seeds of righteousness is to sow seeds of gratitude? And it's easy for me. I was thinking about the lepers, the 10 lepers, and how only one came back to thank Jesus for the healing. And I thought, how ridiculous. Why didn't they come back? It's so easy to, recognize that he gave you a gift and to come back and say thank you. But then I started thinking, well, maybe that's me, not with, I think I would say thank you if I was healed from leprosy. But I'm wondering the same, if I fail to give thanks for the small, I call them small miracles, small amazing miracles, daily miracles, like the hoot of the owl. This morning I heard it laying in bed. There's an owl that hoots right outside the window. And it's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Or last summer we picked strawberries and made strawberry jam. And the taste of that homemade jam on toast, what is that a miracle? Maybe, and maybe I can stop and give thanks for that and recognize this is a gift of God. This is something that God gave me. There's a tree in our yard, and it has one bright yellow leaf hanging on it. Otherwise, it's bare, just kind of spinning in the wind. To stop and recognize, wow, look at that gift. Look at that leaf. Look at that beauty. And to say thank you. Change cards. There are the everyday gifts from Yeshua smaller than the healing that the lepers received? Are they just as big of a miracle, really? And I notice that when I do slow down to actually say thanks and recognize the small gifts, that somehow that my heart that always feels so time squeezed expands a little bit. And my whole shift in my attitude happens, and I get more joy, and I just feel more grateful. Paul says, that he learned to give thanks. he learned to give thanks in all things. And I can give thanks for that chip chip of the chickadee, and I can give thanks for my neighbor Joy. She's 83, and when she smiles at me and waves, or we say hello, or she laughs, I can give thanks for that. It's a process, though, I think, to learn how to give thanks in all things. Can I give thanks for my other neighbors whose trash blows in my garden? And I've learned to stop, and when I have to pick up their trash, to think, you know what, this is a chance to pray for them. With every piece of trash that I can pick up, I can pray. Thank you for the reminder, Lord, to pray for them. I work at the community college, and I sometimes have very stressed students in my office, students with tears, and I think, you know, this is a chance for me to pray for them, to pray beyond. Sometimes I get to pray in my office with them, but often it's praying after they leave for them, and thanking God for a stressed student. And as I sow the seeds, these seeds of righteousness, these seeds of thanksgiving, I am, and say thank you, I'm connecting to that hesed love, that love of God. To the giver of the gifts. Jesus gives thanks a lot. He's giving thanks when the times are hard, when he's alone, when he's with others. He gives thanks and he connects to the giver, and I can learn from him. This week, with all the rain, it's been pretty tough, but I was thankful for 10 minutes of sun on my face this week. And I also noticed how beautiful the reflection of the Christmas tree was in the window. And I stopped and I gave thanks. I got to spend a little bit of time with our grandson Leland, and his laughter just made me very, very grateful. And so my goal over these next 21 days is to sow seeds of thanksgiving and just see what happens. Usually, kind of like Brenda, I don't love the time of fasting and prayer, and it often feels very heavy to me. But this time I've decided to have a different shift, and I'm going to call it, well, I am fasting. I'm going to fast from sweets, which is hard because I love sweets, and I'm going to fast from, I find myself lately, I've been scrolling on my phone a lot, and I just mindless scrolling, and I think it's because it's dark outside and I can't get outside a lot and it's so rainy, but I'm going to fast from that too and just use my phone just for very minimal and very, necessary functions. But I'm going to do like a 21-day gratitude something. Some people call it a gratitude journal, where you actually journal and write what you're thankful for. A friend of mine had a big poster board on her wall, and she just would write things that she was grateful for on that poster, and then she could look at them all the time. I had another friend that used sticky notes, and she would write down what she was thankful for and post it all over one of the door frames in her house. I've got another friend, actually Melody, who she was right there. She often sends me pictures of the sunsets and of the bay from her apartment view, and I think that's a way of kind of recording gratitude, taking a picture and then thanking the Lord. As we enter the fasting season, if you haven't decided to use the book, or even if you have and you want to do something extra, you could consider doing a gratitude, sowing seeds of gratitude, and connecting to God that way. I'm very curious what will happen. But I think a couple things in order to really kind of make it stick is you have to notice the gift, right? You have to be aware of that leaf on the tree or that reflection in the window, to stop and notice the gift. I think you have to record it somehow, to actually try to remember it, write it down, acknowledge it, and then stop and give thanks to the giver of the gift, giving thanks to God. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. That is really good. That is so important. There's a power in the attitude of gratitude. Things change. How do we enter the house of the Lord? With thanksgiving and praise. I want to be able to enter the house of the Lord. That's what he asked for. He asked for thanksgiving. Man, when we change our heart, when we look at our heart and we say, because Proverbs says, one of my favorite verses, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. Part of that, I firmly believe, is setting our heart in a place of gratitude. When we look at life through an attitude of gratitude, our lens changes. All of a sudden, thank you, honey. All of a sudden, things that annoyed us before, instead of seeing the annoyance, we see the good in that person. All of a sudden, rather than seeing the rainy day that's like, oh, I'm stuck inside, we see the 10 minutes of sunshine. That happens when we train our lens to see it. So thank you so much for that, Rebecca. That was awesome.